And welcome to Planet Collingwood here on Revolution Radio in Studio A. If you enjoyed the last 2 hours, my name's Monty Dean. How are you? Good to see you or hear you or be listened by, whatever the term is. If you enjoyed the last 2 hours, big thank you to Tony and the Y-Files. Caught the last half hour, the last quarter. They played well. They moved the ball up the wing and they scored goals and a couple of points. But every kick is needed to win. That's it. Why am I doing sporting analogies? I have no idea. Sport's for pointless unless you're playing it. Anyway, if you enjoyed the last 2 hours, please go to revolution.radio or freedomslips.com and donate what you can so we can continue on broadcasting. Coming up to our 10th birthday in just 2 weeks-ish. It's Wednesday, 2 a.m. on the east coast of the United States and 6 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. Hello from the future. And once you've donated to the station, because we're 100% listener-supported, 100% volunteer, I would say we're the longest crowd-funded project on the internet today, until someone points out that I'm wrong. But, you know, it sounds good. Once you're at the website, pop into the chat room and buy some merch. And there's also archives if you've missed a show or two. And Planet Collingwood asking the question, how is Norman the Goose Next Door going? Really, honestly. If you want to join us, just throw me a message and I'll add you to the call. It's just someone just did that now. So while I figure out how to do this at the same time, I'm doing two things at once, ladies. See, look, I'm a catch. I can multitask. I will introduce our D Live correspondent, the mighty Steve Zerilath. How are you, Steve?
Hey, what is going on, Monty Dean? And just letting people know, like I seem to be doing this every week now. I don't know. You're the one I like to vibe with the most here. Yeah, D Live. I'm on D Live, and I am helping spread the revolution over on my D Live account. So, things are going to be cooler because I just had a big boost in followers over on D Live from a stunt that I pulled the other day that paid off big.
Excellent. And for those on D Live, sling a couple of lemons at Steve for doing the wonders of Planet Collingwood going multi-platform. And that's also not a euphemism. Like the currency is lemons. It's unique. It's different. It works. We've also been joined by our New York correspondent, John Z. How are you, John?
I'm all right.
You know, calm down. You're going to hurt yourself.
Ow, my back.
I've fallen and I can't reach my beer. We've also been joined by our West Coast correspondent, the mighty Viking. How are you, sir? Oh, you seem to be feedbacking ever so slightly. There we go.
Hey. That's my tuning fork. My tuning fork.
Oh, that's even better. That's not a glitch. That's helpful. Couldn't think of the word.
I'm setting the resonance here, you know.
Yeah, it's all like the happy vibe, man. We've also been joined by our New South Welshman correspondent, Cortek. How are you, my friend?
G'day. Good thanks.
Excellent. Let's get the ball rolling and have a bit of a chat because this is a comedy show and we're a release valve for Revolution Radio. So I'll bring up the election and probably end the conversation on the election because it's day 43. For frack's sake. And basically we have to wait till the 6th of January. So that's the end of that. And I'm only doing that because I don't want YouTube to remove the video. So, because, you know,
it's also day 2. It's also day 2 of Electoral College Day. So it's day 43 of the election and day 2 of the electoral election. So now we have 2 counters we can play with.
Yeah. And instead of actually just, you know, doing stuff like, you know, instead of just having one voting thing, now we've got 2. So let's just talk about everything else because in the last 24 hours, we've had a new moon. So how does everyone feel? Because I know I was zonked, my mum was zonked, and so the energy is hitting like a mother lover. and it's all leading up to the 21st, which is the solstice, and they call it the Star of Bethlehem. They did talk about this on the show beforehand, and I find that interesting because it happens every 800 years. So how did it happen in the 800-year cycle? That Christ was born in the middle.
This eclipse was really cool for me, just like the 2017 eclipse was really cool for me, because both of them happened very, very close to the same position in the sky, which is aligned with galactic center. That's my natal moon in Sagittarius.
I was going to say, is it 0 Sagittarius, or what? What's the?
It is specifically the nakshatra of Mula in sidereal for Vedic, which is closer to Scorpio.
Okay, yeah, because you've got an 800-year cycle. There's the 7-year cycle from 2012.
Is the interlinking nakshatra? Mula starts in Scorpio, ends in Sagittarius. So it links the two, because the Sagittarius-Scorpio divide is where the center of the universe or the galaxy, excuse me, is located.
Oh yeah, let's not go a bit too big.
Yeah, so it was a galactic download, is what I'm telling you, and it's cool that Viking's here to tell us about his downloads.
Oh, yes. John, did you feel anything, or was it just par for the course for you?
Oh, that was fascinating. I couldn't keep up with it from the jump. But no, I really haven't felt anything.
No, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, we're on a free will planet and free universe and free will galaxy, which is, I can see the drawbacks from that. Like, why would I want to evolve? Anyway, Viking, would you like to share for your perspective? Because I'm sure it'd be fascinating. And then after that, I'll introduce our new guest.
No, I got some major codexes, man. You know, so when you get a shiver up your spine, when you're like going through an epiphany or some sort of trying to work through an understanding, and it finally comes as a flash, and you get this kind of like, oh, I get it now, and you get the shivers up your spine. That's your DNA being upgraded with the codex, and you're burning out an old virus or an old implant that's held you back. And so this is what's happening. All these codes are coming in, and if you can open yourself up to them by, again, not having any expectations of what's going on, not trying to figure things out, and trying to disconnect and disengage from this programming, you're going to be available to unique perspectives based on who you are. These waves that are coming in are signet, resonant frequency waves that are going to be applicable to everybody uniquely based on their DNA and genome. So we're going into the end of Kali Yuga, and Sat Yuga actually is now in its officially it's like fireworks are being lit, and we're all celebrating as of Monday. We have Sat Yuga is officially taking her new positioning in our galaxy. We are ending not only an 800-year cycle, but a 26,000-year cycle is coming to an end. And man, what I've been seeing, which I can get into later, is like what I've been talking about is that all of these old timelines and all these old agendas, these old deep state agendas that have been subjugating us on all levels of life, are stacking up like a layered cake. And as we start to become more transparent and more illuminated with what truly is going on, these timelines are burning out. And so what's happening? We have the constellation lighting up. We have this Mandela effect lighting up. It's so intense. It's really intense, man. It's like a cat on a hot tin roof.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I'm just letting things unfold where you have sort of aha moments and realizations like, oh, I do like the Spice Girls. That's just a joke, but I need an example. But that's instead of trying to intellectualize it and fight it, just let it unfold and be sort of like a cork in the sea, just to go with the flow and see once things calm down a little bit energetically wise, or you adapt to the frequency new normal. I hate that term because it's been weaponized. Yeah. You can move forward with like, well, you just feel better, and instead of fighting it or just getting stuck, it's just acceptance, surrender to it. That's how you say it, Viking, isn't it? Yeah, just surrender to what, because the universe leans towards justice and happiness and all that type of stuff. So interesting times. Now, an interesting person that has come back to Planet Collingwood is HiJacker. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. Yeah, I'm not much into astrology, but this one lady, Kathleen Glernwick, I think that's how you say her name. Probably not. She's on rents all the time, but Viking was talking about that, and she basically said that she is seeing something from right around January 5th, 6th to February 3rd, in which, because of the way everything is squared, like there's 4 different squares, combinations, so 4 squares by 4, and certain things are in a position. So she says she's never seen anything like it, and the energy, she says, is going to peak right around the 20th, 21st of January. But I don't know what it all means, but I can see what's coming. And so it kind of dovetails into, go ahead.
So, thank you. I was going to step in there, but I was just going to add, it's like, you don't have to be a believer of astrology. It's just, if you take the premise of the planets and the energy and how everything interacts, you can even still look at astrology as history, where, well, the last time Pluto was there, this happened, and so you can see how the loops and the cycles happen. And
the beginning of that time period, January 5th, I believe, is the Georgia runoff election, which the entire world, what's interesting about this election is that I think that they're going to leave Georgia alone until January 5th, effectively, because they want to see what they do with that election, but other states could come into effect before that.
Yeah, that's sort of why I sort of not nipped it in the bud just with the election thing, because of how YouTube sucks even more now. Realistically, we'd just be sort of game theory of what if, and an elf could turn up, and Santa says that it's we're sort of, everything's in play, and we have to let it sort of unfold. Of course, we'll talk about, if something comes out of left field, we'll definitely talk about that. But we,
you got a hard timeline though. You do got something.
Yes, that's what I meant. Where like the 6th of January,
no. There's one before that.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
And that's on Friday, and so we're basically seeing how Trump is going to play it. He's still got things in play with the court system. He's still got because of the electors, he's got that into play. Other words, a political path.
Yeah,
but it doesn't look like the legal path is going to do anything. As far as the political path, I don't think so. I think the corruption is so systemic and deep that he has to cut. He has to use a cutting tool. And so when is he going to do it? How is he going to do it? And this is what comes into play.
Yeah, I think.
I'm Steve. Pause for a sec. Remember where you are. HiJacker, finish off your thought, and then Steve kick in.
So on Friday, this is a hard, fast date codified in a presidential directive. It is exactly 45 days past, and President Trump signed this presidential directive in 2018, and he basically said after every federal election, 45 days from the date of the federal election, that the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, has to do a report on the length and the breadth of foreign involvement, basically, in our elections.
Because I remember you actually say. I remember you saying, HiJacker, after the midterms, where there was chicanery going on, and so I think after the 2016, where they screamed for 4 years, Russia, but there was nothing there, and then there was something fishy about the midterms, and so I could see why President Trump brought that in. It's like we need to sort of nip it in the bud in a certain thing. Steve,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead. Finish off your thought, HiJacker.
Yeah, what I was thinking is that instead of Radcliffe, Renclaff, Rentsclass, Radcliffe,
Radcliffe,
right? He's the DNI. Instead of him taking his shot and basically wrapping it all up about Dominion, about solar, wind, and laying out who did what, who took money. Instead of him taking the big shot, I think he's going to delay it. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to let the holidays go through. And then right around the 1st of January, I think we got a Tet offensive coming. Tet offensive was the New Year's offensive in Vietnam.
Yes.
But most people remember that. It ended up, even though they were defeated, they won the war back home with public opinion. But that's when I think Trump is actually going to pull the trigger and put the whole thing together. And that's when he's going to release. So what you want to watch is you want to watch the DNI delay their official report about the elections.
Okay.
There you go.
I think that there's another angle too. I think there's also the angle, especially in lieu of events that happened in Canada today, that the sex crimes angle, not the treason angle, but the sex crimes angle might come out and shatter the foundation of the Biden campaign, because he is still campaigning right now. He's campaigning for the Electoral College. He's campaigning for to please be certified, so on and so forth. That's what he's campaigning for now, which is showing the American people, for anybody paying attention to Biden's speeches, let's see how Biden does trying to win the constitutional election as opposed to the popular vote that we added to the participation.
Did you see Biden's rally in Georgia? Did you see that?
I heard a clip. It sounded strange.
Right. He went down to Georgia. I don't think it was more than 50 people that showed up in this giant warehouse. And as soon as he saw that he was not pulling anybody except staff, 2 hours later, he makes the announcement that his 81 million voters, in order not to endanger them, he's going to have a virtual inauguration, which means he's not willing to do an inauguration in which only like 1,000 people show up. Yeah.
Like what they're doing is they're literally priming Biden. Biden's going to be the actor. Like it's every dystopian movie. The dictator there's always a guy behind the dictator, right? So you've got like, it's not really Kamala Harris, other than whatever the agreement is between Biden's chief of staff, because the chief of staff is the handler of the president, unless you're doing things Trump's way, maybe. But it's the chief of staff one way or the other. And, so everybody's sitting there thinking Kamala Harris is the shadow, president, effectively, while he's the big teleprompter guy telling you to stay home. He's telling people to stay home, and then he's surprised when nobody comes out to see him.
Did you see the numbers he got on C-SPAN? It was less than, I think, around 23,000 people, and it's he got 80 million people. Even if it goes virtual, I don't think anyone's going to watch. Go ahead, Steve.
I don't know. Does he need Trump needs to get him in a position where he's forced to come out, so that way cameras can show up and people can see nobody, not even people all masked up, going to see him. Nobody thinks it's worth it.
It sounds like Groundhog Day 2. Will Biden come out of his hidey hole and see his own shadow?
No, the political's over.
At the end of the day, the First Amendment was, is not suspended. It's all Biden had to do was stage a peaceful protest, and he could have gone anywhere and done anything. Trump,
no, I'm with Viking, Steve. I'm sorry, the political's over. What's going to happen? Trump is going to have to take the scalpel, and he's going to have to cut the cancer out. He's going to have to invoke the Insurrection Act or the Emergency Powers Act. That's why they're going to delay it.
Here's my point though. Originally,
Right,
anyway,
let's get Vikings take after you.
The
Go ahead.
Epstein situation, the Hunter Biden situation, on the sexual side and the money side, even like this, the underlying criminal stuff that wouldn't have mattered to politics other than the fact that just happened to be his career, and it was an influential career to blackmail a man of power as such. That stuff pulls the trigger, which then breaks the whole thing down, because once you have him on that, now the opposition doesn't have anything to put in the White House.
No, Steve,
Therefore,
it's not campaign.
Trump wins by default.
This is about foreign influence of China with the election. This is about.
It is about that. It is.
It's multi-pronged, if I could say it that way.
Look, we're having big problems going through these breaks. The conspiracy theory stuff, you start by covering up that these people are absolute monsters. That way, public support is destroyed for them. It's easier to throw a guy out of office if you hate him too much to protest that he's being thrown out of office. And how do you do that? How do you make somebody a bigger monster than Trump before you throw him out of office?
He's not even going to get in office. You're not getting
the depraved crimes that they did with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, that is. You're talking about public opinion there, Steve. Basically,
Viking. Give us a timeline.
And that's just to suppress a riot, because you're talking about terminating the Biden presidency and making irate boomers lose their crap.
Yeah,
and everybody else lose their crap.
Yeah,
well,
I'll very quickly just share a bit of information, then we'll go to Viking. I did see that Stephen Colbert tweeted something like, your coup didn't work, and everyone underneath it basically tweeted back, a coup. Yeah, he tried to. Trump tried to get a coup by going through the legal means. And people are actually putting up the definition of coup. It's like, Trump's such a bad dictator. He's doing everything correctly. It's like if he was a dictator, he would just stay. You know what I mean? It's just really weird. Viking, your view on what we're talking about?
Yeah, when does Trump go Lincoln? Viking, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's obvious he is, because he's stationing troops all around the United States in preparation for when he does come forth with the Insurrection Act, because this is crimes against humanity. This is sedition and treason. It's not just China. You got Frankfurt, you got Barcelona, you got Canada, you've got all these foreign powers that have directly influenced the election, swayed the vote, in Biden's favor. He's about 4 or 5 chess moves ahead here, where he'll have to do that, but there's still time to play out his. Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani have yet to come forth, but I believe if it comes down to it, he will, after the first of the year, do the Insurrection Act, and because that is his last card. That's his last card he'll have to play.
So you think, all right, hold on.
I'm not done. Once he does that, there's going to be all hell's going to break loose, and this is why they keep on saying every pundit I'm listening to on YouTube is saying, have food and water, stay home, don't get involved. It's going to be a shutdown. And it's going to be major. I mean, I still feel this has to happen. This is the way transparency and illumination is going to occur. There has to be a shakedown. There has to be a shakedown.
Yeah. Can I hear from John Z? Because I think he started to, and then HiJacker.
Yeah, so I get the everybody wants the Inquisition Act to insurrection. Sorry, almost said Inquisition there.
No one expected that.
Anyway, I know everyone loves the idea of doing this. The problem here, I really if you really think about it, think how crazy that actually sounds to do. Now, I understand why you would want him to do that, but the minute he does that, they're going to flip it and they're going to portray him as a tyrant that won't leave power.
Yeah, they already have.
Yeah, well, it hasn't happened yet. Hold on. Can I give me a minute here? Thanks. And look, I would be for it too, But the problem here is that we've been in a war now for coming up close to 20 years, guys. Okay? On top of that, our government and all of its supporting intelligence and support agencies are effed. The FBI is like notorious. It's like a submarine in a screen door. That's just one. That's just one. Never mind the CIA. You can see what's happening here. Everything we've ever cared about, all the toys and the tech and the people that were supposed to protect us, either left because they got pushed out, got killed because they knew too much, or they got corrupted.
Or they got double-crossed.
Yeah, thank you. Here's like a real hard truth, guys, and it pains me to say it because I truly feel the country is dead, and yeah, violence is going to happen one way or another with an insurrection act or without it, just maybe a little bit delayed. We're probably going to see Biden as president only because that is a desired outcome for whoever's pulling strings. Over.
And there's an element as well. Just very quickly, Viking. There's an element as well of this that I've got to keep the status quo. We've got to. It's like the royal family in England, where they have to make sure that their narrative continues on, and if they put out small fires before it, because they fear change and everything else like that. And so, I mean, I've seen headlines about how Republicans are leaving Trump and siding with Biden, which could be an element of, we need stability, and, well, the media's lied so much that he won, so he has to stay. You know what I mean? They've got to, here's the story, and we have to follow it, and it's people are sort of compromised in that where, well, I guess it's better if we do follow along. And of course,
jumping ship.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the people of the planet's like, no, we're over this. Go ahead, Viking.
No, I have to disagree with John. I just feel there's, first of all, you can't have president can't create a coup when he's president. He is the president, and there's no coup. But no matter what he does, it's going to be considered a dictatorship, overthrowing what is so-called a legitimate election, which it's not. I just feel that no matter what happens, there's going to be civil unrest. There's already algorithms showing that these protests, people are showing up with guns and knives. The CHOP zone in Portland is fortified with a militia. I mean, it's going into hot water here.
And
right.
What?
Yeah.
Right, well, let me ask John. Let me ask John Z. Let me jump in here for a second. So you're the only legitimate, super soldier military guy on here that's actually gone out and done all this kind of stuff in other countries. All right. So let me ask you this, John Z. What is the last and the only greatest, the last and only threat to a one world government, communistic, whatever you want to call it, superstructure ruling the earth? What is the only entity left that can actually stop it, John Z?
Can you tell me?
I think you know. It's the United States military.
No, it's not.
Everything's fractionalized. So go ahead, John.
Hold on. So what I'm saying here, I'm not saying that eventually it won't be stopped by patriots, because it will. I'm just saying that this kind of is going to happen, and it's going to happen because the idea here is to wake everybody up to actually see what is going on in the world big picture. And it's obvious things are not correct. They're a little bit messed up, to put it
right.
lightly.
So my second question, the second question is if Biden gets in, what is the first thing that these guys are going to do? They're going to go for the only remaining organized major threat, and that's going to be the U.S. military. Biden is going to rip your military apart. He's going to kill it. He's going to do 10 times what Obama did. And I think the military flag officers, colonels, generals, I think they know that. I think if Biden gets... Go ahead.
I see where you're going with that. Yeah, you're probably right. He will. You know what? The funny thing here is that a military's might isn't in the quote-unquote military. It's in the people. Okay? So no matter what they do to us, I'm telling you, eventually the day will come where it's time to take care of this and, do what you have to do and take back your country. It's going to
Right,
come
what I'm
with a
saying,
lot of
John C.
hardship.
No, what I'm saying is Trump is going to be in office. He's commander in chief. He's got the military. He's got all the law
He's not
enforcement.
going to do anything with it, man.
He's got the vets. He's got the patriots. He's got 80 million plus people that voted for him. He doesn't care.
It's not the time. It's not the time.
He doesn't care about dictatorship.
Listen, he's been shouting, he's been telling the story for 4 years. Nobody cares. Or if they do, they're being drowned out by the people.
80, 90 million people showed up to vote for him.
Yeah, but that's only
but
that's less than a quarter of the population.
People are not willing to fight for it just yet. Some of us are. Some of us will always be ready. But the population as a whole is not ready, man. I'm telling you, it's not.
They're not going to do anything anyways. They're into their video games and shit.
You do have over 300 million people in the United States, and so
and 200 million are asleep, and the 100 million that are awake are on Trump's side. How do you think? Oh, and heavily armed. How do you think that's going to work out for the other 230 million?
I kind of
don't want Steve. Give me a sec, and then I hand the stick to you, sir, because I know you've been trying to jump in. I don't see the country's not ready to have a guerrilla war. I mean, people probably want that. Yeah, and I mean in the moment.
No military, Monty.
But the thing is with the military, and as John mentioned with the intelligence and everything else like that, it's so fractionalized where there's good people in the FBI and there's bad people. And
the FBI's over. We know that. The CIA is 30. We know it.
But there's still good people in there. They can't do much.
JAG officers. You're going to have it all military. These guys are getting ready to go.
Yeah, but
the people that Trump put in place are all hardcore anti-communist.
Yeah, but there's still fractionalized because I think we're getting
FBI 8,000 guys.
It's not binary. It's not black and white. There's 50,000 shades of gray. Steve, please join.
Thank you. You see, I think it's unfortunate because HiJacker, I think, is right on a certain level of the pessimism of the whole thing with like people playing their video games or whatever. It's like they didn't take us seriously while the water was boiling. Like they're the frogs that didn't jump out of the pan, right? Like I might be in a position where they can throw me back in the pan because like I kind of am too stubborn to like leave the pan for various reasons. But I know that I've jumped out of it because I'm reading the tea leaves and doing my best to be somewhat prepared. These guys, they subconsciously know, but for them it's too much horror to actually understand that the government is this Nazi thing, and there's a possibility that they can't reconcile that Trump is the guy trying to save the day because, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, tall alpha males have all been demonized unless you're a Marvel character.
Yeah. Can I just say?
I was actually Cortek. I was going to ask, as an outsider's point of view, what do you see?
I was just going to say I just found it hilarious that these guys source video games as the source of the world's problems. That's all.
It can be a distraction, but you've also got high drug use and also you've got lockdown and everything. And I think Viking wants to chime in. Before that,
wait a minute, Monty. You took a shot at me. Monty, wait a minute. No, you're right. Monty, you're right. You mix in OxyContin. You mix in the video games. You mix in some porn. Come on. You got
television.
A cocktail.
Here we go.
Yeah,
right.
You also, if I may, we're doing so well. We did 37 minutes. There's also there's a feeling like there's still an element of fear. Do we really want to have a revolution? Sound like a song, but you know what I mean. And so there are many steps before that, and
it's not going to be a revolution because Trump is going to be commander in chief. He's going to have the military.
Yeah, but it comes down to
it'll be over real quick.
Yeah, but
The
there's
reason
17,000
have
steps
a-
to that. You've also got you got to change hearts and minds, and like as Steve was
No,
mentioning before,
you don't do that anymore. Now
why
it comes
not?
down-
No, you'd be amazed by showing, if Hunter Biden is shown to be who he is, and he gets arrested and everything else like that, and someone actually is the. What do you mean? No. What do you mean? No.
When John Z and his unit showed up to town, he wasn't talking about hearts and minds. He was there.
That's the end. That's the. Yeah. Well,
We were.
yeah, but that's
What,
also.
are you kidding me?
But there's also, it's not a 1-2 step thing. It's not like let's have an election in this town and we'll get rid of the mayor. The next step is don't send in the commando squad. There is so much in between, and so I can see where you're coming from. There is a possibility. There's a sort of timeline where the commandos get sent in, but there's so many things between now and then. So I can see where you're coming from. Where
no, we're down to when and how Trump pulls the trigger, and I think Viking's right. I think it's going to happen January 1 or the 2nd. That's when they're going to release that D&I report.
All right, go ahead, Viking.
We're gonna find out either way.
Yeah, Viking.
Well, even if they do the Insurrection Act and they take to the streets, you have to understand. I really believe that the election showed the vast majority of the United States is tired. They're through with the cophobia. They're tired of all this bullshit that the mainstream media is feeding us. Even if he does take
freezing cold.
Wait, please. Even if he does take to the streets, and even if he does pull his trump card and basically just arrests everybody and calls the election off and takes office, I don't feel. I mean, people showing up in the streets right now. There's tens of thousands of Trump supporters versus hundreds of Antifa, and it will not last but a couple of weekends. And I just feel that people are pretty complacent enough to just let this play out. I don't feel it's going to be a huge confront, but because the military will be in these major urban campaigns. Let's call them a campaign where they will be arresting because. Antifa is an international group, and it's going to be is regarded as an international terrorist organization. Even if we do hit the streets, it's going to be a couple of weekends, and it's going to be business.
No arrest, Viking, and it's going to be gun them down, shoot the kill.
No. Well, I think there will be some of that, but not as much as you think.
No, because it's not the feeling of the country's ready for blood. No. They want change, and they like the oath keepers and the oath breakers, and there's that frustration. I don't see it being a Taiwanese government discussion, if I could say it that way.
But there will be some minor skirmishes. There will be some minor skirmishes, but it's only because only because of the testosterone and the mob mentality and whatnot, but it's not going to be. It's going to be more or less done on that base level, not necessarily based on a coup.
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah. There's a couple interesting elements in play when it comes to it. Because look, at the end of the day, like one of the worst things also is that like. A lot of the people that are on the quote unquote armed side, they, for various reasons, not because of the Rona, because, they're not pussies, but for various reasons, it's kind of been what the year's been about. Nobody is saying like, hey, listen, we're all getting together and we're doing target practice on my land every Tuesday. Come over, hang out, shooting private land, get to know each other, maybe start a legal militia, et cetera. Like nothing like that has happened at all. Because if it's on like your land, like if you're a guy with land, well, not at all. Owen Benjamin's doing that, but and anybody in the Homestead movement. But then the Homestead movement, like Owen Benjamin's the only one broadcasting what he's doing. And I'm not going to Idaho right now.
Right. Well,
Steve, we're all isolated.
Right.
We're not we're not rallied in a militia here.
Right. But think about this, and John Z can back me up on this. Do you know what a Bradley armored vehicle moving into a crowd of 10,000 riders Do you realize what kind of damage that thing can do and how quick
Do
it
do
can
you
disperse?
realize it'll never be done on American streets in
Oh,
front
you
of
don't
you
think
of
so?
cameras?
I also
No,
think
no,
In
that
front
no,
of
the,
you
no,
of
the
cameras?
damage,
no.
go PR, go like
You're not
go,
talking about. You're not talking about electricity going. You're not talking about cell phones. You're talking about hard brass knuckle. When you went into a village or a town,
Buddy,
it wasn't about hearts and minds.
buddy, there was no
Anybody that was
cameras. There was no cameras where we were. There was no cameras over in Ruby Ridge when they burned the house down and everything. Okay, there was no cameras there. If you
Do you
have
think-
cameras, you cannot do what you just said.
Do you
and
think 80
also,
or 100 million
if I may very
listen,
quickly, you also had this
blackout.
with
We're expecting a
John.
blackout. You got to remember that.
Yeah.
If they're taking down Facebook, they're taking down YouTube.
What,
They're
so
taking down.
somebody can't grab a camcorder or something, or their cell phone that's charged. You seriously think they're going to do that?
Google
If I-
blacked
if
out
I
today.
could-
Did you
before,
see that?
before it gets lost,
Listen.
before it gets lost, I just
They-
want to
they-
add what John Z's operations that was supported by the government, and so if you're seeing a change in Western civilization, just think PR marketing. That's just going to look really terrible to the rest of the world. I mean, China may giggle, but they suck.
You don't get it. We don't care anymore. You're talking about 100 million Americans that are fed up with the burning cities. We don't care.
Here's my point. You could also do an EMP blast that knocks out all the power in the area that you want the atrocity to happen. And
they'll do that
guess
too.
what? If you're not live streaming, recording the massacre doesn't help, because by the time you get it
Okay.
on the
Okay. All right. Hold on.
There's no massacre. A couple of rounds
Hold on.
go off and everybody scatters.
Hold
You're not
on.
talking about killing 300
So-
people. Come on.
So when you
If
talk about an
go ahead.
EMP, when you talk about an EMP going off, I accept that is a possibility. However, you would then need to tell me what is the end state and the end goal for whoever who sets off that EMP, because the entire place is gone except for anything that's EMP shielded, which isn't much in this country, especially above ground. So where do you go from there?
They're not going to go EMP. The military's going to go hit the circuit breaker on a local district, and the power's going to go out. They're going to turn.
You
They're
still
gonna
seem
turn
to think.
Well,
you still
let me
seem
tell
to
you this
think.
much. I lived, and I think John Z lived also, if he lived in the area, through the great northeast blackout of 2002.
I was there for
thought-
part of it.
When I heard about the cause of that, it made me a little irritated that I didn't know that the entire Eastern Seaboard's primary power regulation incurs over on the Canadian side of the border and connects to us. And I don't know if we necessarily secured that. But what I do know is that I think that area was up in Maine or something. And we just had those two incidents not too distant apart with the whole Chinese troops allegation situation. Those troops may have been near the power station in question. They could have knocked out New York City for like a week.
If I may, as an outsider, it sounds like we're just talking Bond villain level stuff.
Yeah.
And so I see.
It's post-election. It
Yes,
has to be like
Yeah,
this is it. It's either Bond or
Hold on.
bust.
No, not
Hold on.
necessarily. I can, John. If this resonates with you, please expand. I can see it's not 1, 2. That's not the next step. It may be 4 steps down, but I can see there's other things before that happens. Before we get to that level, John.
Go ahead.
John,
Yeah,
what do you?
so I agree with you. I'm not accepting that it's not a possibility, but again, I think it's a little bit down the road. I mean, sure, okay, if it happens, it doesn't matter anyway, because then we're going to be living in the middle of it, so talking about it at this point is kind of mute. But, at the same time, think about it logically. If this is the road that they're going to go down, they're not going to just smack you over the head with a hammer. It's not going to happen like that.
I know. Yeah, I exactly know that.
And
But what
globally,
part of 2
go
million?
ahead, sorry.
Okay, so you got recently an insider whistleblower from Australia. Yeah, your neck of the woods, Monty, has come out, and they basically say there's 2 million basically infiltrators including Mattis, including people through Google and all the high-tech companies and something like 87,000 corporations or in universities or whatever, 2 million communist infiltrator agents. How do you think you're going to cut that cancer out?
Think about Twitter's connections to Chinese interests, right? And so you've got like the people behind Xi Jinping and the CCP are looking at Trump's Twitter feed and the other Twitter feeds they were that they know are their assets and comparing the tweets and amongst other things that they do within their intelligentsia on top of looking at the tweets to figure out what the heck Trump is doing. Because, you know, their investment is in Biden. They're trying to secure their investment. And that's part of the reason why we have to pull our hair out, you know, feeling like Trump lost. But you know what? Let me tell you something. It's the ups and the downs. And as I've gotten used to the pattern of losses, but yet the pattern of revelations after every loss, the most important thing that I'm noticing is that every day it feels like Trump lost less. It just does. Yeah. It just feels vibes. I'm an empath, okay? I'm not saying that's based on anything freaking rational, but
no, I agree with you, man.
Every day, and I feel a little bit better and a little bit better. And I haven't felt this way in quite a while, and I still have to wear a mask to make money.
Well, think about this, Steve. But let me dovetail into what Steve is saying. So we got this guy, Trump. He went through 4 years. I'm not going to go through all the Russia and impeachment. He went through all that. He survived all that. Then came the election. You're talking about the major media. I mean, 96% negative stuff on the airwaves against him. 24/7, 360 for a solid 4 years. Plus, big tech, big money, big media, they all jumped in the fight. They hit him with everything. They hit him with fake ballots. They hit him with mail-in. They hit him with COVID. They hit him with knocking down an economy. And here it is, December 15th or 16th, and the guy is still standing on his feet after 43 days, right on the verge. Think about it. You give this guy another week or two, this whole thing is going to turn around, and then once that D&I report comes out and he drops that hammer and he addresses the American people and he goes, look, we've been dealing with a 4-year coup against this presidency. The Chinese are involved in it. This is what they did. Here's the patterns. And then he's going to have the generals behind him. Now, I don't know if Milley's going to be behind him, but all those other generals that I saw that showed up at the Army-Navy game, all 6 or 7 of them, they're a hardcore communist. I know who they are. They know the death of the military. It's over. It's over for Australia if Trump doesn't win. But if Biden takes power, it's over for it's over for the U.S. military.
I would say, go ahead, John.
They're not going to die without
John, then me.
And me.
I'll tell you, man. I hope you're right, and I hope that there's some Trump card coming up that'll just completely make all this go away and see it for what it is. But the more I think about it, and the more I see, and the more that I hear about other foreign country leaders acknowledging Joe Biden, actually now, it's getting quite to the point where I'm starting to lean where, okay, this may not be going the way I want. Over.
There is an element of that, and if Donald Trump was a superhero, he would be called Teflon Man, because if you look at the last 4.5 years, just nothing sticks to him, and he's still going.
Exactly. Why is he in this position? 43 days into this, and he's still got a legal option, he's got a political option, and he's got the D&I report.
But this could be all part of. This could be all part of the narrative that's playing out, where they want all this friction. I don't see at the end of the day that the United States will collapse. It will change, and I think Biden sucks as a human being, and he's more terrible. I mean, as I said at the last show, he has trouble walking through an open door. So he'll be a lame duck president. He's already ignored Black Lives Matter and Antifa. From my perspective, it looks like that he's just doing business as usual, because he's been doing politics for 47 years or whatever it is. And he's going back to that Obama sort of administration where it's all the old mates. He's getting the band together, and it's just going to, in a way, kick the can down the road. By the United States, and then I'll hand off to Steve. If the United States collapses, China will probably make a move, but China's going to go against the rest of the world. I mean, half of India could walk across and slap them. Russia will just stop that. Don't make me go over there.
I didn't see that 15 hours ago Vlad actually congratulated Biden.
Yeah, but also it could be they could be looking at the information they're getting where it looks like the system
based on the electoral college,
and stuff like that. Go ahead, Steve.
The biggest security move that Trump has to make as he makes this move is he has to isolate the entire West Coast from China. Right. He has to make sure that there's people inside California.
What part of 3 aircraft carrier groups on the West Coast and 3 on the East Coast don't you get, Steve?
Oh, no. I get it. No. I know he's already doing that. I'm just talking about the game, man. We're talking about the game working through the state of the board so we can rationalize what all the probable plays are. That's all that we're doing. So it's good that he's doing that. Now he's got to have the internal people as well, because he's got to deal with Gavin Newsom, who is going to.
He's got 800,000 law enforcement. There's 800,000 law enforcement. All law enforcement are behind.
When Gavin Newsom came into office, they let him do it. But one of the first things he did is that he had a visit with I don't know if it was with President or
Gavin Newsom is 3,000 signatures. He's 3,000 signatures out of almost 200,000 from being recalled. He's about to actually legally, politically get recalled in the state of California.
So, by the way, the website for that is recallgavinnewsom2020.com. Go to it, sign the petition, have your friends sign the petition. If you live in California, again, recallgavinnewsom2020.com. It takes about 30 seconds. It's really simple, and I would encourage everybody in California to sign that petition.
And if anybody from New York is listening, you got to get rid of de Blasio and Cuomo. You got to get rid of them like a hole in the head. You don't need them.
Have you seen what's happening with
work on Schumer while you're at it?
Yeah, is it Cuomo that is having that problem? He's having his Me Too moment, which I find fascinating. Where believe all women, except I know, but still, it's in the public eye. It's like, well, isn't he blah blah blah? Even I saw footage of Sadwell Suckwell, that guy that was with Fang.
Swalwell.
Thank you very much. As a comedian, my brain just thinks of the joke instead of the actual name. He
Get to the punchline.
He went on. He complained about that. He didn't address the accusation. He said, "Oh, someone released this information, and that's got to be stopped." And of course, the media people just allow that to happen. It's like, wait, hang on. You were caught in a compromising position, and you're complaining that you were caught. Now, in your life, how many people have you known like that?
Or being a politician, you can refer to him as Swallowwell.
Graphic. Good. Yeah, go ahead, Steve. Steve, sorry, we've got about a minute to go, so till the break.
One of the neat consequences of what Trump has been doing with pressing, his election, kind of just a happy synchronicity, probably planned it, is that while they're busy trying to control the narrative on the election fraud gate, all this China stuff is coming out, and there's less attention to controlling that narrative.
Yes. Yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back and talk narratives, because it's all about ideas And I do like Alex Jones's, InfoWars, because I think the info war can heat up before we get to a hot war. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. This is Planet Collingwood. I'm Monty Dean, and you're awesome. We're all going to go to break, feed my cat, go to the toilet, and I'm not going to mix them up. We'll see you on the other side of these short messages. Stick around. We have returned. This is Planet Collingwood Open Roundtable. My name is Monty Dean. You're listening to Revolution Radio, 100% listener supported, 100% volunteer. If you enjoyed the last hour, please go to freedomslips.com and or revolution.radio and donate what you can so Studio A and B can continue sharing all this information, and we're still needed. We're coming up to our 10th birthday, so that's a decade of awesomeness. And people used to poo-poo us, oh, you're useless, you don't do anything. And we're still here. And we have to thank all the listeners for doing that, because if you weren't here, it would just be, let's be fair, just a normal conversation, no one listening in. If you'd like to actually join us, it is Monty_Dean on Skype, and I'll add you to the call. At this point in time, John Z had to go sleepy bobos, that's the technical term. We have Cortek, Steve, Zerilath, HiJacker, and the Viking has joined myself. And so...
Can I get first question in?
Well, yes, because I do have a theme, but we'll see. I'll see if I can.
This is kind of pre. This is pre. Does anyone know that dun 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 the trailer, the bumper riff? Is that an actual song that anyone knows what it is, or?
I think that would be Nighthawk himself. He used to. Yeah, I think he used a lot of his own. He used a lot of his own music. That way, he could get around copyright.
Yeah, nice. I just love it.
So I will find out for you, because I think there's stuff. There'll be ways of finding. I know there's YouTube's. The band's called Of Echoes.
His band.
So yeah, that would be. Now, Steve was talking about narratives, and I'm thinking the last half hour of the show will sort of predict what's going to happen on the 21st and next week, because everything's just really weird. But before that, we're talking about narratives, and I think no disrespect to HiJacker, I can see that as an outcome. After, if diplomacy doesn't work, we'll get to that point. I think the American people won't get to that point, but it is about a battle of narratives / ideas. And the thing is, as Steve said, it just feels like Trump won, and there's a groundswell for that because, as an example that I said last hour, Joe Biden did his speech after the Electoral College with the president of the office of the president-elect, which is the first time in history that exists. And as HiJacker reported, there was like 50 people there. And on C-SPAN, 23,000 people watched it, and we're supposed to think that a quarter of the country voted for him.
Allegedly,
yes. Even if you look at the numbers that Obama did, where he won convincingly, he got double the Biden got more votes than Obama. Like, yeah, right. However, Biden got roughly about 50 counties compared to Obama. And it's like, yeah, something's way off. Yeah, a lot of people, if you take the hatred of Donald Trump out of the equation, most people will look at the numbers on the piece of paper and it's like, this doesn't make sense. And I'll end here. If the Democratic Party had nothing to hide and they believe they won fair and square, why do they do a vote audit to show that they actually did? But they refuse that, and in a way, they're hiding something.
Very cool.
Well, that's part of the 2018 presidential directive. When Trump does pull the trigger, and it's a matter of not if, but when, and how he does it. And I've come to believe now that we're going to know something in 3 days, because that DNI report, the Director of National Intelligence, Radcliffe, he's supposed to, and he's a shooter. He's a hardcore anti-communist. He's like a Jason Bourne assassin. He can put together that report that shows all the foreign interference, which Trump, then it was basically, he could force Trump to basically do this. But what I think is going to happen is we're not going to hear anything. And if we don't hear anything on Friday, no DNI report, and then we go into the Christmas week and the holidays, then what these guys are doing is they're waiting. They're going to wait for the holidays to be over. They're going to wait to the 1st or 2nd, maybe 3rd of January. They're going to do a Tet offensive when it's really cold, and then they're going to drop the hammer. And it's not going to be like they're going to go around rounding up, thousands of people. When Trump does address the nation, he's going to say, Governor Kemp, he did make a deal with Dominion, who is owned by the Chinese. By the way, did you know Biden's brother-in-law also owns a piece of Dominion stock? And guess who else owns Dominion stock that just resigned? Turns out Bob Barr had millions of dollars in Dominion stock. Go to Forbes magazine on how Bob Barr made his $40 million. And he actually owned Dominion. So Trump is going to be able to lay this thing out to the American people, and then he's going to give, like any kind of Hollywood script, he's going to say, this particular person has colluded with the Chinese, and as we speak, he's being picked up. And then Trump is going to start to, like little fishes, he's going to start to pick. And that person is going to be Republican governor of Georgia, Kemp. They're going to show where they got photographs of him going in and out the Chinese embassy when they were when they were burning all that stuff down in Houston. They're going to probably have phone calls of him. They'll make him the poster child of it, and then it's going to start. And then basically somebody else pops up, after they turn off the emergency broadcasting, and it goes back to normal. If Wolf Blitzer speaks up, the military shows up. That's sedition, Wolf. We're picking you up.
Lynn Wood, that attorney that's working with Sidney Powell, he made that tweet about Kemp and going to jail. He practically said it. He practically said it like it had been done already.
Right, and then Trump retweeted it. And then when Cooper Anderson, he speaks up and he says, "Oh, they picked up Wolf Blitzer. The military is going to show up and pick him up." And they're going to say, "Okay, how many more? How many of you Jewish producers want to go?" We can keep doing this all day long.
I was going to thank you for sharing, because I was going to say one difficulty from all this happening would be the media. However, if you have concrete evidence that can be shown, because it was mentioned earlier last hour that the media is compromised just because their bias is showing, where the legacy media is losing numbers, and that's why big tech's trying to prop them back up and attacking.
They're never going to be able to do what they did for the last 4 years.
Exactly. Yeah, and once they've got concrete evidence where anyone will know that's wrong, and then they start picking up journalists, presenters. For treasonous acts or however, I think that will sway the American people, because there is an element.
Trump goes Lincoln. He goes Lincoln, right?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Lincoln, very quickly, I saw a headline, so who knows if it's true or not, but apparently some place wants to remove Lincoln from their high school because, and I quote, Lincoln didn't really like black people. It's like he freed them all. I mean, there's nuance, obviously, with all that.
You sure that quote didn't have it like at the very beginning of it?
Yeah, that's what Lincoln apparently is an evil person. Like, I'm sure he's not Jesus, but my point,
oh no, Monty, listen, Lincoln, he was a hard, foul-mouthed racist. He never used the word black. He always used the N-word, always.
Yeah, but he still freed them. He still freed them. So it's the same thing with Winston Churchill.
None of that stuff was a part of his legacy. It was only a part of his notoriety, if you will. It's what they're doing with Trump.
Yeah, well, thank you, Steve, because there is that separation where, like, his notoriety is like, he's not the best person in the world. Same with JFK. However, you've got the legacy of it. Like, even LBJ. I watched Candace Owen talk to Ben Shapiro, where I think she's roughly the same age as sort of my generation, where LBJ was a hero and all this type of stuff. But up until Kennedy, he basically worked against the African Americans in the United States, and that's the manipulation of the educational system.
Can I just make one point while we're on African American people in the United States? Did you see the first? I saw a picture somewhere. I haven't verified it, but the first person has actually taken the COVID vaccine today or something, and she's a black nurse from somewhere in America.
Oh, like the vaccine. Like,
she was a solar ritual, because that happened on the eclipse.
I was about to say, if it's a bad batch, then it's going to be like every single other horror movie out of Hollywood where the African American person dies first.
Yeah, and of course, well, let's not get into how all the redheaded comic book characters have been race changed, but that's a different subject. The thing about the vaccine, have you noticed, we've got a vaccine, we're rolling it out, and then 2 days later, or there may be complications, and you need to have 2 shots, the booster, and when you
the
do
Australian
have
one's been scrapped.
Yes, in Queensland, University of Queensland, because of HIV,
HIV references.
false positives,
false negatives.
False negative. Yeah. Whatever. Something's wrong. And we can get to that because that was mentioned months ago where C cells and everything. But the thing is that they're coming out like someone quoted, I can't remember who it was because I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed, heading towards disgust now. That's my evolution. All month I've been going, really? Even if you have the second booster, you still have to social distance and you have to still wear the mask. And I'm thinking, well, what's the point of the bloody vaccine?
Exactly.
And then he the end of the paragraph, it was, it will only work if we all get it. And I'm thinking, well, how
about we all not get it?
Yeah, it's like if we're all jabbed and so it will eradicate the thing, but you may get it. And it's like, well, if you got 100 people and one person's not vaccinated, are you saying the other 99 vaccinated people, it doesn't work?
Don't spout your herd theory.
Yeah, what type of
magical talk?
Yeah, what type of logic are we working here? It's like
it's not logic.
It's not that's not health based. It's more about control and everything else like that. Because if it's health based, technically, if you think about it, if one person doesn't have it, they shouldn't be able to give it to everyone else unless the vaccine doesn't work.
Think again.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. See, at the end of I watched an interview with Steve Hughes. The channel on YouTube is called Trigonometry, and they spell trigger. And the last question they usually have on there, it's quite good. They're 2 English comedians, and they have the same last question for each guest. It's like, what's something that we don't talk about? And I've thought about it, and my answer would be, why aren't we teaching 6-year-olds critical thinking?
Very cool. It's that bit between those early years, so important.
Scientifically, why I should have a temper tantrum.
Right, I would like to get Viking's take on how he thinks this thing is going to unfold and how this is all going to go down. So, is Viking still on the call?
Yeah, I'm still here. There's so many levels here. This whole thing with Monty wanting to go into the astrological and this new transference of energies that's going to happen here. We're literally going into a new paradigm, and the energetics is going to force the situation wide open. I mean, the Democrats are throwing Hail Marys. They're all Hail Marys. And if enough people believe what they're saying, then it's true, and that is their basic stratagem, and it's going to fail. It's going to fail. If you back up and really back up enough and see that the dark arts, the dark spell is broken, and the tipping point has already occurred. Whether or not we go on the streets is going to be short-lived, and but as being pointed out here, there's 4 or 5 moves that have yet to be played out. This whole thing with the Hunter Biden gates, the insurrections that had occurred in China, in Frankfurt, in Barcelona, and all the sedition that's happening in treason, in the voter fraud. There's so much that can just be brought to the table with his executive orders. I mean, Guantanamo is full. One thing you're not seeing here is that there's so many arrests occurring right now that Guantanamo is full. They're using prison ships and they're having to go on mainland in military prisons and start filling those up. There's a movement here that makes this look like child play. There really is so much happening behind the scenes that when we finally get through this little fiasco, which it will become, we're going to be, completely, our perspective is going to be broadened to the point where it's going to be just traumatic. I want to make one more point. 3 weeks ago, when Flynn was exonerated, I predicted Julian Assange was going to be exonerated, and he will be in the next 7 days.
They'll upset the deep state. We have been joined by a
Fingers
new
crossed.
guest. Oh, yeah, and I think Snowden as well. That will throw the cat amongst the pigeons for the deep state spoons. I'm trying to. I'm censoring myself while I'm talking. We have also been joined by Brandon Young. Be Young, yo. How are you?
Yo, hey everybody.
Hey, bro.
Have you been listening to the show, or you just remembered that the show's on and you called straight in?
Oh, I've been listening.
Okay, no, it was just an observation. So, if you've been listening, what points and ideas have stuck out?
Well, I mean, the vaccine is the big one,
I think that's what we should be talking about.
Well, the funny thing is that here in Boston, they've, they're dancing again. The nurses are dancing again, and I'm like, oh, not this again, come on. It's
We'll see how the public
ridiculous.
reacts to feeling like they're stuck in a loop, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to stick us. They're going to stick us in a loop and make sure that they got us locked down every flu season, because they're already selling a mutation. But by the way, there was one thing on my chest I just wanted to get out real quick. We don't have to tap this rabbit hole right now, but I'm just mentioning it because I felt compelled to. Leviathan. There's a direct struggle with the entity known as Leviathan right now, and it's connected to the reptilian side of the situation. So I just wanted to say that's one of the big immediate cosmic things that's going on. Now we can jump out of the rabbit hole and
that's another 2-hour conversation, my friend.
Hey, Steve.
Mate.
Hey, Stephen Viking. I just wanted to ask if you guys knew or had any special any ideas about the dates of the 17th, and of course the winter solace coming up. But the 17th, is there anything special about the 17th in December? Over.
Well, no, there isn't. Numerology wise, it's 17, and
or more occult wise.
So somebody might make a Q inference of significance, but other than that, no. The 21st is the most important thing coming up right now. It would be the most important thing with or without the Grand Conjunction. We are in the Grand Conjunction now. We're already pretty much precisely direct. It's just exactly direct the day of the 21st, which is when Mercury will be eclipsing the sun on that day also.
Yeah, interesting enough, speaking of, I think the 21st, is that the date that the globe went into lockdown? I think because that makes it 9 months into a 2-week flatten of the curve.
That's the equinox, right, Steve? The 21st is what, the equinox?
Yeah, 21st, 22nd, depending where you're on the planet. For you, HiJacker, it will be the 21st.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
right.
So not it's a 9-month birthing ritual. So now we're cashing in, we're harvesting on the energy that was produced this year. And because the energy that was produced this year was really, really dark and twisted and awful stuff, it was giving an injection to Leviathan.
Hey, Steve, can I ask what's your opinion on how we can be sure our date is the right date anyway? I mean, I really think that we should chuck another 15,000 years on it for starters.
No. It's very simple. It's very simple. It's the cosmic clock. These are the highest. There's whatever their stupid ritual calendar is, which has some power, but it's not based on the highest law. Okay? Here's the point. Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Aslan defeats the witch by allowing the witch to sacrifice him. Why? Because he knew the law better than her, and he needed her to break the law.
Nice.
Which is what Trump did on election day and on electoral college election day.
Also, going back to the calendars, the only thing that is constant is the solstice and the equinox. Everything else changes because the month, the month is named after moon, and so it should be based on the moon. So, in a way, the new
we
moon
should have a 13-month calendar.
Yeah, because we've got moon month. Yeah, go ahead, Viking.
We have to have different calendars because the measurements of the days can't follow the same synchronized patterns as the measurements of the moon. Things are we'd have to rearrange. We'd have to have a whole lot of restructuring, which, by the way, I agree with, where we have a multi-dimensional calendar for a week, a month, and a year.
Yeah,
I just like the fact that if you had 13-month kind of calendar with the solar cycle, you would then see your own birthday go through the same different cycles. It wouldn't be the same time every year. You'd see it through the different seasons. It would come back around.
I think if it's worked out well, if you're born on a Thursday, your birthday will be a Thursday. But because it's the solar equinox and solstices, everything changes because of the different days and months and everything else. Like Viking, can you chime in? What can you add?
No, first of all, here's an interesting fact. Stephen Hawking, before he died, calculated based on the perturbations of all the planets and how it was calculated that the Mayan calendar actually ends 2020. So here we are going into year zero, 2020 being year zero, the year of illumination, and 2021 is birthing a brand new, again, Sat Yuga. So the brand new cycle is occurring on the 21st. Is that day? It's our new cycle day, New Year day, new cycle day, and it's going to be. I mean, it's beyond. It's just going to be mind blowing. I mean, where we're going is a brand new paradigm of existence. We have to go through this turbulence, this trials and tribulations, because all of these old timelines have to burn out. They have to go to the bitter end. And, as far as the deep state, is their ship has hit the rocks, the debris field, but in their timeline, they still have a chance. And that's what's playing out here, is that all these timelines are collapsing like a layered cake because the Mandela effect is coming to an end. You have to understand, these timelines are resolving themselves as we wake up. As you pointed out, by surrendering and letting go and no longer participating in this web of deceit, you basically are participating in these timelines collapsing.
Yeah, also, humanity's been taught to have instant gratification. And so when Viking says we're moving into super awesome happy time, that is true. But if you... And I mean that with love. Don't get me wrong.
No, I love it. I love the whole 2020 thing. I think 2020 has been like a compressed, constipated sphincter. If that's just going to fart out the other side, great.
Yeah. However, people that expect it's going to change on Monday, it's like no. It's like turning an aircraft carrier. Monday will be, okay, let's turn left, and they move the wheel. It's going to be a process, and it's going to take a while. You'll see it slowly unfold because we're talking huge amounts of end of loops and cycles. And so even away the December 21st, 2012, it was just a normal day. However, in hindsight, you look back, it's like, well, that's roughly when everything changed. And you have to see these things unfold. So I think I was on an astrology show for the unlovers. That's a better way of saying it because I can't say their real name. We'll be thrown off air. Good name, but still, it's very hard to try and market it. It was like, well, that's a bit rude. But the thing is, like the 21st in December, February, March, we'll start seeing the true effects of it. Was that HiJacker? I think. Go ahead, HiJacker.
I like Steve's analogy about a 9-month birthing season, and biblically there is something about the stars. In fact, in the Bible it talks about they're for signs and seasons and symbols. It's like a big giant clock. But
exactly.
Like a 9-month,
like the solstice. The solstice is the solstice is the solstice because of the sun's position in the sky specifically that you can measure with the naked eye.
Right. Well, you talk about a 9-month, and then you talked about this whole year has been full of nothing but dark and twisted energy. And so a 9-month birthing period, that means what we're about to produce is the baby of judgment. baby of a dark winter, where it really gets dark, where Trump has got to invoke the military to save the military. And so it does look like we're coming into a fairly rough ride, no matter what. Go ahead.
Don't forget that the solstice is the darkest time of the year. From that point on, it shines the light. The light starts to shine. So it's the illumination and transparency that creates the salvation of humanity.
Yeah,
and the Cortek and myself.
The conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn on the solstice is your Christmas star.
Star of Bethlehem,
a Savior is born.
Yes, and for Cortek and I, because we're Southern Hemisphere, you can still use a positive aspect where it's the most light, and that's when people in the Southern Hemisphere can just draw in, because it's the most light possible. You draw it in and more, and it's not the negative thing of, we're going back to the dark. So, like, technically, yes, but still, you draw in as much light as you can on the summer solstice.
Monty, I don't know if you know it, but I think it's 90% or 87% of the population of the Earth is actually, and I don't believe in the globe, but it's in the Northern Hemisphere. And you people in Australia, in Southern Africa or whatever, you're only about 10 or 15% of the population.
Oh, yes, yeah. Thank you. That's why it's happening the way it is because the most of the landmass and population is in the Northern Hemisphere, and so by critical mass, you have coming out of the dark into the light, and so you have most of humanity in the landmass drawing on that. And so the Southern would be balancing it out by holding the light at the same time.
Right, yeah. A big
yin and yang.
But anyways, let me just jump in here real quick. When I think Trump does pull the trigger, and I think he's going to be forced to do it. If he doesn't, then Biden takes over, he's going to be hounded down, probably imprisoned, maybe killed, get all his wealth ripped off. The military goes down. He's basically going to sign the death warrant for the Republic of the United States, as well as a death warrant for Australia, Taiwan, India, Japan. I mean, this is like
you keep on bringing up these timelines of doom and gloom. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
No, I'm not saying that.
You do.
Go ahead. What I'm saying is that he's got to pull the trigger to basically.
He will.
Right, I know that, but I think after
we all know the after effect. Yes, it doesn't look good if Biden takes the presidency, but that's not going to happen.
Right, I know that. I know, but what I'm saying, Viking, is that when he does get the DNI report. And he spends that 90 minutes using the emergency broadcast system where he takes control of all the airwaves with the 6 or 7 generals behind him, and he lays out really what's going on. I think what he's going to do right after that is he's going to say, now this is what we're going to do. We're going to switch over to Vice President Biden, Speaker of the House Pelosi, Chuck Schumer on the Democratic side, and Kamala Harris, and we want fair time, and we want them to tell you exactly what we told you is true. And then they're going to click, and it's going to be Biden, Harris, Schumer with the Senate, and Pelosi with the House. And nobody's going to be able to see it on camera, but all around is going to be military guard. And Biden, in order to save himself and his family, is going to say, I agree with President Trump. I have looked at the information. There has been infiltration in this. And now concede openly.
That's not going to happen.
No.
It's not going to happen.
Oh no. Then he gets picked up and goes to Guantanamo.
They'll be silently exited, but there's not going to be this massive, No,
he's going to give
witch hunt because that would be too destabilizing for the American public. That would be destabilizing.
If you had Biden come on and basically say, "Look, I looked at the information too." And Donald Trump actually did win this presidency.
But he wouldn't do that. He's not going to do that.
No, I don't think. I think the American public will kind of handle it with Biden. I think so. Because like everything that Trump did through the election and and now beyond it is disgracing him in a way. There's a reason why this stuff works, and we don't understand why. It's the people around him. He is telling the public about a dirty little secret about Joe Biden that the people that know Joe Biden knows what it means. And now they're looking at Joe and it's just like, oh, now it makes sense. And they walk away. That's why Hillary Clinton was completely dismantled in 2016 because, much of what Trump did during the campaign was tell, hey, did you know this about the Clinton Foundation? Did you know that about the Clinton Foundation? Funny thing about the Clinton Foundation. And everything fell apart.
Yeah, I think I understand where Viking's coming from. Where
Monty.
Right.
So we got like smoking hot numbers. I think you've actually broke a record for this time at night on Revolution Radio, and so you might want to give out how
smoking Monty.
Yeah, Monty. How is there some way somebody can support you and your show, because you got really, really high numbers right now. It's unbelievable, actually.
If you go to my YouTube channel, which is Wafer Thin Entertainment, there is a PayPal donate button on the actual page, and by clicking that, you can transfer money via PayPal.
Yeah, if people can throw them a few dollars, and then, of course, revolution.radio, and then also freedomslips.com. We got someplace you can donate. So, like if you got a $10 bill, throw Monty $5, throw the station $5, help them out. None of us get paid. And, it's all on, like with Monty, like donation. And then I also think that Viking, although I don't think you get paid, Viking, I don't think
I don't need any money. I'm fine.
Right.
If I may, Viking does have a Patreon, so if you want to share that, because you do have a group, and so the Patreon page.
I don't. Well, Chris does.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, basically, what happens on my show is that we do a 2-hour show on Fridays called the Galactic Interstellar Council, Down the Rabbit Hole of Galactic Perspective, in Studio A at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what happens the first hour, we basically go over the current situation from a galactic perspective and how we are entering this new age and what we can do personally to atone ourselves. The second hour, we bring in a galactic or an elemental race, and they then go over what we talked about in the first hour. The third hour, which is a Patreon, is I actually interview these races, and we talk about their history, with their planet, their lifestyle, their interests here on this planet, why they're here, and that's the Patreon. And I'm not even sure how to pronounce it, but if you go to the show, at the end of the show on Fridays, Chris always gives his Patreon with that. But those are, I've already interviewed close to 45 galactic and elemental races where these are direct one-on-one conversation. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, with my YouTube channel,
I watched the last episode that you uploaded. It was very good.
With my YouTube channel, I think this is show 48 or 49. So I've been doing it all year. With the comedy show with Andrew Bartzis, we did 20 or 22. And I don't know what Steve's numbers is because he live streams on Instagram every 4 minutes. If you like what Steve does, you will definitely get content because he's very
on 500 subs too, Monty.
Well, Monty, give your contact and your Patreon. Wafer Thin Galactic what? Why would you pick a name like that?
Wafer Thin Entertainment. It's actually from a Monty Python sketch where
Wafer Thin Entertainment. Okay.
Yeah, it's a play on words. So this is Wafer Thin Entertainment. Instead of Rock Solid or something else like that. So it's just a play on words. And if you've seen Monty Python's Meaning of Life, it's the really fat guy that eats, all the kitchen. And then right at the end, John Cleese says, how about after dinner, it's wafer thin. And then he explodes. Oh, and also a bit of comedy as well, Steve. I'll need your help to explain it. I put up a great meme of The Simpsons, and I was fact-checked on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes.
It's
Monty,
a
so who's
joke.
on the call? Who hasn't got a word in edgewise because of Steve or me? It's going to be one of the two of
At the
us.
moment, well, we've got Brandon, Cortek, Steve, yourself, and Viking. So, Brandon, what's going
Brandon.
on? Yeah,
Brandon.
what's going on with How are things in Boston? Is it cold yet?
Yeah, it is. Thanks. Yeah, it's about. We just got a foot of snow
Thanks.
tonight.
How's that nor'easter?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I can't wait to roll around in the snow.
For those who aren't aware of Boston, the word khaki is either a pair of pants or someone asking for where their car keys are.
And also, this is another reason that I think that Trump and DNI director of national intelligence Radcliffe is going to drop they're going to drop the hammer. They're going to pull the trigger in early January because it's going to be so damn cold. The only people that are going to go out once Trump basically makes this announcement, and then according to statute, he's going to say in 120 days we have reset the federal elections. That's actually in the 2018 bill. Once he declares this national emergency or insurrection act, he's going to say in that speech also, in 120 days, we're going to have another election. That's going to wipe out all of the weak. And so only the hardcore is going to go out into 20-degree weather to protest. And they're going to be confronted with the United States military. And I'm slipping here.
It's going to be like the Germans in the middle of Russia.
No, I think Vikings. It's going to be a weekend or two, very little bloodshed. There may be some people with some guns that think they can buck up, but once that Bradley fighting vehicle rolls in, it'll be over. I don't think it's going to be much bloodshed at all. It'll be over quick. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think now I know you live there, so you know better. But the United States is a third, or at least 50% of it. You get snow and it's really cold, and it just makes me think of Canada. Of like, how do you people live during winter?
It's only the northern states. I mean,
okay.
You got Florida. We'll never see Texas. You got Arizona.
Oh, yeah. I know it's not a whole, not the entire thing. Because I mean, Arizona is full of desert. Oh, did you see Arizona? Actually, I saw this from Razor Fist. Arizona gave their college votes to Donald Trump and Mike Pence. And it's like, wow. And of course, I did retweet Hillary Clinton saying, I don't believe in this, but while we still have the electoral college, blah, blah, blah. And I just put, my tweet was, I believe someone should be in jail.
I can't believe she's not. I can't believe she's popped her heads up, like her heads up more than once this year.
You said you needed my help. I pulled up the meme. You want me to read it?
Yes, if you can.
All right. So it's Principal Skinner standing next to a door, and there's another older guy associated with the school pointing at the door.
Yeah, that's
and he
Super
goes,
Nintendo Traumas.
Yeah. So he goes, "What is happening in there?" And Skinner goes, 140,000 Biden ballots. And then the guy inquiring goes, 140,000 Biden ballots at this time of night in this part of the country, localized entirely within our polling place? Yes. May I see them? No.
Yeah, it's from the Simpson episode, which is 22 short stories of Springfield, and the actual story is that Skinner somehow gets his kitchen on fire, and to cover it, Skinner says to Chalmers, "What's happening in there? It's the Northern Lights." Really, it's the Northern Lights localized in your kitchen, and it just goes on. Can I see it? And then Skinner goes, "No." It's brilliant comedy, and yeah, I actually got fact checked on Facebook of like, this is not true. And it's like, it's a fracking joke. And same with Instagram as well. And so it got shared, and Steve was the first person to comment on it. Like, ha ha ha, they fact checked a meme.
They need to get their parody algorithms up to scratch.
Oh, well, that's one thing about this year. It's very hard to find parody and satire, because like some of the stuff that these people have been saying, like apparently the United States now is going to have a black national anthem. And I'm like, the Civil War tried to stop this segregation. Yes. What about all the civil rights movement where they stopped segregation and they're trying to bring it back through identity politics?
That's not
like
helpful.
You're all humans. which means you're all flawed. But that's the whole thing about identity politics. I'm a black man, and I know John Z's not on the call, but he loves this joke. The problem is of joining the army these days. If you have to dig the latrines, you have to dig 57 of them. Because I'm a
LGBTQTRS.
And the P's trying to join as well, and it's like we have to draw a line somewhere, you sick bastards.
I think the line was
John Z's off the line.
Yes, he had to go.
Well, that's checkmate. Once he realized what I was talking about, that if Biden becomes president, once Biden becomes president, that is the death of the United States military.
He's not going to become president. Stop talking about it.
No, what I'm saying is that John Z realized what I was talking about was truth. Right. Is that the United States military is not going to die without a shot being fired, and so they're not going to let Biden be president.
I don't see if Biden becomes president, I see him just being a complete lame duck, and he still thinks it's 1992.
No, they're going to tie him off. They're going to clean him. That's what they're about.
But if you look at the actions he's doing, where Goldman Sachs and everyone else like that, he's got Butt Gig, which is like the prime creator / god writes the best jokes because he's a gay man and his last name's got butt in it. Like you can't do that. But apparently. He is the first gay member of the cabinet, and it's like 4 years ago. People are trying to rewrite history, and humanity's waking up and like, you people are idiots. Go ahead, Steve.
Monty, did you notice the tweet that I put out about Buttigieg?
No, remind me.
All right. I retweeted a Capital Journal article about it, and I said, because he's going to be a Department of Transportation, right? He's going to be Secretary of Transportation. I said his first act in office will be widening the Hershey Highway for loggers.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, thanks for that.
I think about gay.
Listen, I don't know a gay guy that wouldn't have thought that was hysterical.
Yeah, go ahead, HiJacker.
Yeah, no. When I think Buttigieg as transportation secretary, I think about gay bar cruising.
Yeah. Hello, sailor.
Watch out, someone doesn't resample that little snippet there.
Yeah, but clipping. That's a phenomenon in the last 3 years.
He's going to be making DOT like internal like motivational videos with like I don't know, like the Beach Boys playing, and he's in like shorts.
Why are they curtains?
Safety at the Coast Guard.
Yeah, why are there curtains on the bus? All right, let's stop there because we're just digging a hole. I'll go ahead, HiJacker. I've forgotten.
Yeah, no. Once Trump makes an example out of a couple people, maybe a Wolf Blitzer, maybe a Governor Kemp. Once he makes just a couple examples where he actually uses the military to arrest them in this national emergency, nobody's going to buck up. Everybody's going to shut their mouth. Buttigieg is going to shut his mouth. Everybody's going to shut up. And then Trump is just going to be in management. Okay, you want to pop up?
What did Wolf Blitzer do?
Lied a lot.
He's a seditionist.
Besides that.
Yeah,
that's enough. Be made example of.
That's enough, Brandon. It's like really that. Try this scenario on into the vast brain capacity that you all have. Now, if now I'm not saying this is what happened, so just follow me here. If Biden did win, see, I can't even last the sentence. Just look at what he's doing with the appointments in the cabinets, and I'm just going back. Really, every time it's like, well, he's pathetic, he's corrupt. It's like with Obama saying, "We'll get rid of who are the people that bribe." They call them that certain, lobbyists. We'll get rid of lobbyists, and then a week later, he gave 1,000 jobs to lobbyists. He's playing old school politics where we want BLM on our side. Oh, we won. Go away. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, and what's really neat about this is, you get to see these are the guys from the Obama administration, right? Mm-hmm. Because these are the guys that Biden has to put back in. He has to regurgitate because of everything they couldn't do with the Hillary agenda. So, Now they have to do it this way, which is entirely based on damage control with all of whatever they know in privilege.
Yeah,
so
it does look like.
Listen, you could just not arrest Biden and arrest everybody in the Obama administration that he picked except for him, and then he gets nailed by their testimony.
Yeah, because it does look like.
It's a lot of fun. The only thing I care about at this point is finding the most fun way to imagine it. It's in my imagination. That's all I care about because that's what I want to create. Anything else is already a nightmare that I processed for 9 months.
Yes,
because
I think what might
that is
happen,
your free will.
Like now, aren't we? I'm going to be a beautiful butterfly on the other side of the winter solstice. Thank you very much.
Exactly,
that could be sweet death metal lyrics.
It is your dream bubble, and you have free will. It does look like now. If we look at the Biden administration and see what you think of it, and correct me on certain bits, it looks like they think that Trump went 180, and so they're trying to go back, erase everything that he did, and continue on what not Obama, but the mission statement when Obama was in, and as Steve sort of said,
Monty. He said he's going to go back to the Green New Deal,
Yep.
the Paris Accord. He said this, I'll quote, every single presidential directive that President Trump signed, I'm going to undo, basically.
Yeah. And what I find interesting with that is that I haven't investigated it too much, but apparently the United States is doing better with its CO2 greenhouse gas crap than actually being in the Paris Accord. And so it does look like, we're joining that. It's like, well, why? You're doing better already. And
those statistics from the last 6 months there?
Yeah, and it's that level of childish eagerness. It's like, we've said it a lot, like Trump actually cured cancer, the left would start screaming, what about those oncologists? I mean, all these doctors are going to lose their jobs. It's like, really?
The main thing about the climate tax, the hand behind that agenda is specifically one of the most powerful hands in the game. We're all colleagues of Bruce McDonald, and we and I've read The Light of Darkness, and the Worshipful Fuelers, who are responsible for the restoration of London after the fire of 1666, have been working hand in hand with the British Empire to control all energy on this planet. They are literally the energy conglomerate.
Yeah, BP would be a major stake. Yeah.
They are one of the top bad guys that works in tandem with the Council of 300, whom is overlorded by the forces that are dealing with Leviathan.
And remember, dear listener, the David Icke quote, which I use a lot, and I think people are using it as well. We may be ruled by psychopaths, but we're run by idiots. And so, like, even if Biden gets in, it's like, this is just going to go nowhere. And especially, like, that whole, most people know that something they got to the point, certain people are actually going, well, maybe he did cheat, but we got rid of Trump. It's like, you're going through the 7 stages of grief here. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, what I think is actually going to happen is that once the D&I Director of National Intelligence, Radcliffe, he takes the shot with his report. He implicates all these foreign powers. The whole political class see it. Trump gets ready to drop the hammer. What I think is actually going to happen is there's going to be negotiations in which all of these alternate electors from these 7 different swing states that have been placed, they're actually going to work out a political agreement and try to stop Trump from actually pulling the trigger on the Insurrection Act or the 2018 Emergency Powers Act. And I think you actually might leverage that in a political way, although I think it might be a mistake because I think the corruption is so deep that if you don't pull the trigger on the Insurrection Act, he's not going to lock up a lot of people. He's going to have a narrative of a few people that were involved in the election fraud, but probably that would be enough to smack everybody back into place.
Yeah.
But
be interesting to see the global political response to that, because if I know China won't do anything because they like Beijing Biden. Can you imagine Vladimir Putin and Russia coming out and, Trump, we have this evidence, and I'm sure the leftist media will start going, oh, he's lying. And then if Russia or Europe or the UK, they realize the writings on the wall, it's like, we need to back this because, we could have, a global shitstorm.
Oh, the great mighty king of Mother Russia.
I'm sure he will come out and go, yes, look, here's our evidence as well. And it's actual proper evidence where it's provable.
There's already kinetic action between Chinese and the Russians in Siberia. China is already saying, look, all this land that you own, 12% of the land surface of the earth, part of that Siberia was actually used to be China, and we want that back. There's already pushback on that.
Yeah.
The great mighty king of Mother Russia, he knows, but he got politically correct, fell in line with Biden, but I think he knows at the end of the day, Trump, Pompeo, and those boys, those anti-communists in the Pentagon and other parts of the government, they're going to buck back. They're not going to let this go down.
Now, we're coming up to the end of the show. I'm just saying that now so we can have final thoughts and there's no rush. So thank you, everyone, for listening. We still have 5-6 minutes to go. So this way we give a minute to everyone on the call. Brandon, you've talked the less, so you have a minute to riff.
Oh, well, no, it's just you can check out my website, horse.com. And horse.edu.
How do you spell that?
WHORSE.
Okay, yeah, because it sounded like horse, like the animal to me. So I'm just just checking.
Yeah. So anyway, but no, it's interesting. I'm paying attention to this Jupiter-Saturn thing, which is really interesting to me because Jupiter is going to overtake Saturn, and Jupiter's abundance and sort of goodwill and also enlightenment. The Medici family is associated with Jupiter. If you look at their family crest.
Well, Brandon, if I may extend the invitation, can you come back next week? Because that's going to be the 22nd or 23rd,
right.
So it's the day after. So I think we'll spend the whole show, unless major stuff happens in the election. And if Steve, please, as well, because I think you'll be able to add to it as well. Because very quickly, there is a photo of they've done the time lapse of how Saturn and Jupiter are coming together, and it fits the Last Supper. It looks like the vassal. The chalice, as well as it looks like the top half of a DNA spiral. Steve, would you like to share your information and where people can see and hear you?
Thank you. I wanted to say, when it comes to Medici's, the most prominent way that I know them in is from fiction, but they are portrayed in a very good light in Da Vinci's Demons. A very good 3-season miniseries. It's like 30 episodes. Go look for Da Vinci's Demons and watch it. It's they kind of go through the tarot in each episode. I'm on DLive right now as Zerilath, dlive.com/Zerilath. That's where I've been streaming us tonight, as well as Zerilath on YouTube. And you go to either one of those places and you can look in the description area. I've got a full list of places you can hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Gab, MeWe, so on and so forth.
Yeah, big thank you to the New World Order for making me join 17 different social medias instead of one. Viking, would you like to closing thought and share? I know you shared it earlier, but just where people can listen to you.
Well, I'm still contender that this election is going to be thrown out, and the actual date that it's coming from is November 2nd, when he did his executive order in the 1776 referendum, where he stated there's 120 days, which would be March. I still feel that that's still strong. I mean, I believe that that's going to be the outcome. But the main thing that we can do individually is not go there. Is to hold your ground. Hold your passion, hold your vision, and not get swayed into this toxic soup that's playing out. Because it has to play out to the bitter end. It has to. These timelines have to collapse as the Mandela effects finds its ultimate culmination, and just be an observer and not get caught up in everybody else melting down around you.
Of course, Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Is that correct?
No, Eastern Standard Time. The Galactic Interstellar Council on Studio A on and it's 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Okay, there you go. Yes. HiJacker, are you still going on to Deacon's show?
Yeah. That's 2 p.m. Pacific time, which would be 5 p.m. On. I'm going to play it out to at least to the end of the week. I'm about to walk away, depending on how this thing goes. But what I want to leave people with is really deeply heartfelt pray that President Trump can leverage the D&I report on foreign, entanglement or foreign influence in this election, that he can actually politically broker that D&I report for a peaceful political solution, so that we don't have any, no military on the streets, nothing. That when January 6th comes up, all of a sudden it's the political class that says, you know what, we can't hold this position. Trump's got too much power, and so let's go along with the Electoral College, and he wins the vote in the House on January 6th, and we don't got to go through this hellish insurrection act or whatever. All right, go ahead. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, everyone, for calling. Cortek, very quickly, because I think you've got a Twitch, don't you?
Yeah, little bit. My eye goes a little bit funny.
Yeah, as you do. That has been Planet Collingwood for another. We'll be back in 6 days, 22 hours. You're listening to Revolution Radio. If you're on YouTube, yay, we won, everyone. Please like, share, and subscribe, and do all that. We'll be back next week after the solstice, and I'm sure we'll have something to talk about. You take care, everyone. Have fun.